You're visiting the Mom Next Door and our stories of faith. I'm glad you dropped by for a visit. Please stay a while and hear what the Lord has done in the lives of moms just like you and me. Well, hello, precious mamas. I'm Pam Fields, host of the Mom Next Door Stories of Faith, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. I wonder if the weather has gotten a little bit cooler where you live, because it sure has. We just hit this boom. The humidity went down and we have a little bit of chill in the air, and I'm loving it. We can breathe again. Now, I think most moms listen to podcasts on the go, but if you happen to have a few moments of stillness today, I want to invite you to sit down with us, grab a cup of tea, relax, and join us. We're so glad you're here with us today. I want to introduce you to LaCinda. Now, what I'm reading on your bio is that you thought you had this whole Jesus thing figured out, and then you heard the words, "Your son has autism," and it changed you. So will you take us back to that day, and feel free to go back even a little further and set the stage for us?
Sure, I would love to. Thank you for having me, by the way. And here in California, we're glad it is not 114. So I totally understand what you're saying about the weather.
What's the fall weather for you? What's the fall weather for you then if it's not 114?
Okay, so fall usually lasts about 48 hours. And it is so it's right now the high is expected to be, I believe, 82. And we are very excited about that because that means that we're moving down, and then we'll get one more big push in October before it finally settles into like that. This is going to sound ridiculous. The 50s, 60s range where we're like, yay.
Which sounds perfect. Perfect.
I love where I live. I do. We love Central California, dairies and walnut orchards and all the things. And I am not talking about autism right now. So let's go back to what you actually asked me.
I am a highly distractible mom. So yeah, you might have to keep me on task. Sounds like you're ready to go. Let's go back to what we're talking about.
Awesome. So I have two kiddos. I have a daughter who is right now 19, and she is a sophomore in college. And then Thomas is 17, and he is a junior in high school. So I'm going to time travel and get my flux capacitor ready. We'll go back to when he was about 2. So Kyler is 3.5, 4. He is just before his second birthday. He had all of the typical development up until that time. He walked, he crawled, he had all the words that, of course, dada first. Dada, mama, truck was his other big word. He loved playing in the mud. He did puzzles. Very what you would expect a kid to enjoy. And then about 18 months to 2 years, he stopped adding words to his vocabulary. Fancy word for that is his lexicon of language. And I thought, well, maybe that's okay. So I am a teacher by nature and by education. And in teaching, and as a parent, kids grow in spurts and then not, and then spurts and then not. And his sister, whose first word was hi, very verbal. So we went to his 2-year-old appointment, and I talked to the pediatrician, and I said, just bringing something up. Thomas is not, he isn't gaining any new words, and trying to be casual about it because I'm a little worried, but I don't want to project that onto something.
Well, you don't want them to think that you're a mom who's just being overzealous about the tiniest little thing and have them brush you off.
Yes, exactly. And he asked some questions. He said, has he lost any words? And I said, no, he hasn't lost any words yet. And he said, well, Boys are typically less verbal than girls. And he looks right at my daughter and says, he has a very verbal older sister. It's funny now, but
Right, right.
uh,
I get it.
uh, he said in 6 months, he's going to get over this slump and you're going to see an explosion of language. He just like said it, and I could just see these words coming out of his mouth. Explosion of language.
He's like he's just collecting all the words now. He's just choosing not to use them. He's
Yeah.
collecting them and then they'll come.
Right, like some kind of balloon pop, and then they just go.
Right.
But what happened instead was the words that he did have slowly, one by one, disappeared. They just vanished. And I could see him physically changing into this shell of what he used to be. He used to love playing with cars, and then he started lining all of his cars up. He used to love to be read to. He would grab a book and hold it, and it looked like he couldn't even figure out how to open the book anymore. And his eyes, he has these beautiful blue eyes. My husband is a blue eye, and I have dark eyes. I don't even know how our kids got a blue eye. It's like, yay. But the sparkle that used to be there was just gone. And so we went and had some assessments done when he was about 2.5. And just before his 3rd birthday, we sat across the desk from the psychologist at what we have here, which is called Central Valley Regional Center. And they said, your son has an autism diagnosis. And from that point on, the life that I had planned oh so carefully, for lack of a better word, it died. The life that we thought we were going to have died, and something else started to take its place.
Now, if he's 17, that's a lot of years ago, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. We have a lot more awareness about autism. What was your knowledge at that point? Had you heard of it before? Did you really know what it meant?
I did not. It was just when we started this journey, I'm going to do fast math, 15 years ago. It's like 2 minus 17. Okay.
Yeah.
It was just kind of peeking its head into the zeitgeist of pop culture. I don't know if that's the right word, but you were just starting to hear about it. And I remember there were a few actresses that were, and I can't remember who they are right off the top of my head. I'd have to Google it, right? Whose children were being diagnosed, and they were on the talk show circuit. And because I had littles, that's like your your connection to the outside world is were talk shows back then.
And we didn't Google as much back then, actually. We didn't use a lot of the whole internet searches like we do now. And so if your doctor didn't give you an exact whatever, you're scrambling to get information wherever you can.
Yes. Yes. I had no idea. And being a teacher, I thought somehow that would give me an insight, because I had taught for years, and I had all kinds of connections, and none of those up front helped me with knowing what autism was, or what his flavor of autism was, and what to do. So you're adrift. What services are I look at me, I can't even formulate. It's been 15 years, and I can still remember sitting there in the parking lot going, what's the first step?
What does this mean for our lives? What is his future going to be?
Yes, very much. I would spiral into very dark holes of like, what long term, what is pardon me, what is his life going to look like when he's 22? And in reality, we don't know what any of our kids are going to look like at 22. But this was an obvious, like, God's, like a little red flag. It's like, this is something you definitely have to plan and think about. So what is our life as a family going to look like? And I didn't know I didn't have any connections with families who had a son who had autism. I didn't have many connections with people who had special needs kids. It's like they were hidden. And that is something that I have found, that a lot of special needs families hide.
I think that's probably still true to an extent, but one thing that's come on the scene since that happened for you is probably all these social media places. And social media seems to be great connectors for really acute or a small, there's a percentage of this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can find each other and find like-mindedness in those small groups. So take a step before podcasts and Facebook, Instagram, and all these places. We had Yahoo groups and email chains.
Oh my goodness.
Did I just take you back a little bit?
All of a sudden, I was hearing that AOL dial-up, bing, 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 where you started up, got a cup of coffee, came back, still waiting for it to dial up.
Okay, so you are now in this. You've got the diagnosis. You're evaluating what this is meaning to our family, and you move forward. What does that look like?
Moving forward, that is an interesting word, forward. I am not sure. I think it took me a while to move forward. So I think of this. So we've got the actual, like, meeting the physical needs of my son on the autism spectrum, meeting the physical needs of our family. And then you have like this spiritual dynamic with how am I meeting needs with, how's God meeting my needs? Or better question, was I talking to God at that point? So which avenue would you like me to kind of take us down first, ma'am? The spiritual one or the more like practical, physical types of stuff?
Well, I would love to hear your story of faith in that. And so, practical, you're going to give me some tips, you're going to give me some resources, but, I really want to hear your story. So we'll see how much time we have, right?
Right. Okay. So we'll kind of we'll weave some things together. Practically for Thomas, what we found was something called ABA, which is Applied Behavior Analysis Therapy. It was offered through our regional center, and people have very mixed feelings about how it goes. But the idea with ABA was with Thomas's flavor of autism, he needed directions to be broken down into the most minute steps. And you could do one step at a time, and you had to practice it, because for him, it's a brain electricity chemistry problem. He would hear the direction, and by the time it got to the place in the brain where it would tell the body what to do, it got lost. So understanding that also helped, because he wasn't being defiant. His brain that electrical system that we have in his brain wasn't functioning the way it was in so many other in other people. So knowing it wasn't a parenting issue, that he wasn't behaving or wasn't responding, or was in autism, we'll call it a meltdown. Okay, moms, you've seen it in the store, or you might have had it with your own kids, where they get overstimulated and they just lose it. And it's always in the grocery store, right?
Hey, I'm saying it's not just the kids that are having that meltdown in the grocery store. And I may have seen it in other moms, or I may be testifying to it, one or the other, depending on the day.
Yes, I totally have been there, right? So for kids on the spectrum, it is they are overwhelmed with sensory much quicker. And so you might see, so he would, and you wouldn't really know exactly what it was that was causing that meltdown. It could have been a flickering light that was too much stimulation. So it's figuring out all of these things. It's being patient with yourself. It's doing the therapies that seem to work, that moved him forward at the rate that was appropriate for him. His rate of growth, not the same as it is for his sister, not as the same it is for the other kids that were in his Sunday school class. So that part, finding those therapies and finding and then you'd run into a mom who had a special needs kid, and you're like, and they said, hey, we've got this gym class that we've got for these toddlers, do you want to join? Yes, I do. Because you need to connect with other moms who can have a relatable conversation, even if they don't have autism. I have moms who have kids on the down who have Down syndrome, moms who have a kid who have a feeding tube, moms who have whatever neurotypical neurodiverse thing on the spectrum, whether it's Asperger's or whatnot. We're able to talk about it and say, I get it because I see it over here. Now that being said, that part of our journey was rough. It was tough, but I felt like there was moving forward, because it was something you could do. If you're talking biblically, it's very Martha, right? You got a plan and you're doing the plan. Over in the spiritual side, I spent a good year being really, really angry with God. My theology, which was a little bit whacked out at that point, and it's a journey as you get closer to Jesus, was that somehow, because I had done all of the Jesus things, because I volunteered in church and I taught Sunday school, and my purse matched my shoes and all of those, super biblical things, that somehow he owed me a different life. He owed me typical children and a happy marriage and health. And that's not true. And so he was very patient with me as I worked through, but I still showed up in church. Have you ever so the silent treatment, have you ever given anybody the silent treatment before? Like since junior high?
If you're really just asking me, like right here on a recording,
right? Oh, no.
I mean, I'm going to be truthful. Yeah, for sure. I have. Right?
So if you're giving someone the silent treatment, they have to know that you're giving them the silent treatment in order for it to be effective, right?
That's true. And sometimes if you have to tell somebody you're giving them the silent treatment, it is extremely upsetting to the person doing it, right? I mean, to like me.
So annoying. So I was still going to church, and I'm still volunteering, and I'm still doing all of these Jesus things, because I want him to know, but I'm not talking to him. I want him to know that I'm mad at him. I'm a genius. I don't know what to tell you. But he is so patient, and he is so good. And he showed up in ways that were very specific, and just loved on me and waited for me to get to a place in Romans where we are, where we get proven character and proven character hope, because we have really hard circumstances. We have trouble. But at the end of Romans 8, nothing is separate us from the love of God. And if nothing's going to separate us from the love of God except me not accepting that love is true for me. It's true for my typical daughter, whatever typical means, but it's true for Thomas as well. God's love is not based on our ability to do things for him. And that was a big shift for me.
Yeah. I think all of us identify to some extent with the fact that we're not equipped for what is in front of us. It could be a number of circumstances. I mean, just name them, right? And flat out, let's just say becoming a mom. How many of us, once they get here, we say, oh my goodness, I wasn't prepared for what just happened in my life, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so this is right there. This is intense. I'm sure you weren't feeling equipped, and that's probably part of why you're going through that.
Yes. I think that's totally true. You feel as a mom, you bring the baby home, and then you realize that you're not in a TV show. You're going to have to take care of this kid. And the same was true with Thomas. Like there was my husband, don't hear that my husband's not helpful. That I feel like I'm focusing on myself. He has his own testimony about all of this. But how do you and to be honest, you're just not equipped. You have to embrace the fact that this is your child and you're going to do the very best that you can. And God is going to, and he will, I've had 15 years of this. He will put people in your life. He will open doors. And it will be possibly not what you thought your life was going to be, but it will be rich. And my level of faith is, I said this at a retreat this weekend, that the level of faith, my level of faith, if I had not had to shake out the amount of trust I had to have with God in raising a child on the autism spectrum, I'm not sure. No, I am sure that my faith would not be where it is today, because I would still be trying to grab control and trust away from God. And I still do. That's my tendency. I'm a little bit of a control freak, but in reality, we don't have control. But what autism does, it just beats you in the head with, you don't have control. You don't have control. You have to rely on God.
So do you think like part of that transition into stepping into that is that's a point of acceptance? Like, okay, this is like, you could try to fight it and that's kind of like when you're like continuing going to church, doing all the things, but not really accepting it and stepping into it, then you're kind of inhibited to go forward yourself into that next stage of growth like you're talking about.
Yes, that's very true. If you are so when we first got the diagnosis, it was a push isn't quite the right word, but there were people who were saying we could cure autism. And so you kind of have this,
you cure something that is broken, right?
Yes,
You cure
yes.
something that needs fixed and corrected.
Thank you. Yes. And that is not necessarily what needs to happen in this situation. There's nothing wrong with a kid who has autism. There's nothing wrong with a kid who has Down syndrome, who has a trach pipe, who has fill in the blank. That is that is their real life. It is how God created them to be. Our job as parents of those beautiful little kiddos is to move them towards Jesus. And it won't look like everybody else's, but all life is sacred to him. We are all image bearers of God. I am an image bearer of God. Person listening to this radio state of this podcast is an image bearer of God, and Thomas is an image bearer of God. What does he reflect about God? He's not a mistake. He doesn't need to be cured. I don't need to be cured, but I need my heart to be sanctified. That's what everybody needs. So if I'm as a mom, we're training our kids up for good. Same is true if you have a kid on the spectrum or any other disability. You don't need to cure them. We need to grow them. We need to grow them to be the light of Jesus in their communities, just like we are to be the light of Jesus in our communities.
Think about how God is so immense, right? There's so multifaceted. We have such a limited view. And if we all did look a certain way, or we all had a certain bent, we would miss out on a greater understanding of who God is. I mean, think about the body of Christ. We have all these different parts. It's all part of one body. And by having that variety, it gives us a better chance to see who God is. I don't think we can see who God is if we don't have that differentiation in, is that a word? Differentiation. We don't have, yeah, there we go. If it's not, I just made one. But I think there's an absolute beauty in having the unique way that God made each one. There's, it's sitting there going, what special gift is there in this child that I get to unwrap and uncover and discover?
And that is so, if you have a listener who has a kid with special needs, if you have, and odds are some of them do, greater odds of you knowing someone who has a special needs kid. We all have a gift. We all have the light of Jesus in us. When you go into a worship service, and this was a struggle for us at the beginning because he was overstimulated. And so, we would be I'd have a 10-year-old in the cry room with all the crying babies. It was awesome. You just have to figure out what works. And having good conversations with church staff is key. And I won't tell you there weren't times where people would kind of give you that side eye, because Thomas doesn't talk, and he wears noise canceling headphones in church or in many situations. And he's awkward in his movements, and he kind of sways. But as he has gotten older, we've recognized that there are times when he does that. There are times when he sways. There are times when he kind of flicks his hands back and forth. We realized he was worshiping in that moment. And as he's gotten older and we have not hidden in the corner in the back, other people who we've gotten to know who have, because it's difficult. It's not easy when you have a special needs kid to put yourself out there and to put your kid out there. I'm not saying that it is, but the benefit is people recognize now, they've seen his growth. They see him worship. They'll come up to me and be like, I think Thomas was worshiping. I was like, no, he was. And to open the eyes of other people to what worship is for everyone, I think is a huge deal. And if I had hid Thomas away in the foyer, and we did, I mean, there were times where we did sit in the foyer, but we just kept pushing back into main service. It allows people to see that everybody does things different. And it's a gift to me to know that Thomas knows Jesus. And I hope it's a gift to other people as they watch him to see something about the character of God in a 17-year-old boy who really needs to figure out how to wear deodorant. As he kind of bounces and says some words, it's just a really beautiful thing. And if I hid Thomas, other people wouldn't have the opportunity to see that as well.
That was the word I was thinking. How beautiful. How beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a special purpose for his life. I interviewed one of my friends, Leah, and her husband is a pastor, and she has a daughter with some special need. And I don't remember the exact diagnosis. And they sat down with her, and they're kind of like, you know what? Your special gifting is this friendliness, and you are one of our greeters. God has you in this body for a purpose. And we want you to live out that calling. And you know what? She is more comfortable greeting everybody on a Sunday morning, welcoming people into the church than a lot of people would be. And it's so genuine. It's
Yes.
absolutely genuine. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
I just finished a blog post about Thomas's worship and how they don't dial stuff in. I mean, if you have a special needs kid, then you can relate to this. If they don't like it, you're praying they don't tell people that they don't like it because they're just like, yeah, that's bad, or no, that stinks. They have no gain. So greeter, yes, that's perfect. That's awesome.
You know what's great? The word that just popped into my mind is they're truth tellers. They're not feeding you a line. They're going to speak truth, which is great.
Yes, it is good, and then you know what? It's good for them. And the only person that feels awkward is me when Thomas does things like that. And it shouldn't be about me.
Yeah, so much we can learn. As now, when we were talking about, are you going to talk about the like real practical aspects of this or the spiritual growth? And I think that it is so intertwined because each one of those tangible steps, each one of those tangible challenges that we have spur us on in our spiritual growth. And I think that we can't separate it.
No, it doesn't work that way. We live in the real world. We all have, so we have a saying in our family, we all have special needs. Some of us are just better at hiding it than others. And we're called to live in this world and to live out a life for Christ. And if I pretend that I don't have a kid on the spectrum, then I'm not being authentic to what God has given me to shine his light.
Okay, so I want to ask you, where are you today and what are you doing? Because you are shining your light for Jesus and you're encouraging a lot of women through your testimony.
Thank you. That is, God doesn't waste anything. So what I am currently doing, and this started about 5 years ago, is that he called me to speak to groups of women. And so I speak about not hiding the hard stories that God has given us, because like it says in Luke 11:33, no one lights a light and then puts it in the cellar or under a basket. The Message version says in a drawer. I love that, in a drawer. But they put it on a stand for everyone to see the light. And when we have the light of Jesus, but we hide that hard story, we're not sharing the light of Jesus to the people who really need it. And so that started about 5 years ago. It's a speaking to groups of women, MOPS groups, women's ministry groups. And so I'll speak on biblical text, and then a autism thread just runs all the way through it. And if you can't tell, I'm a little bit of a storyteller, and I am definitely a jokester. So they are humorous and heartbreaking. We laugh, we cry. Hopefully there's cookies, but I don't bake, so someone else is going to have to do that.
Have you stayed pretty central to your area in California? Are you doing some traveling along with this?
I have been currently just in California, but I am very interested in traveling. I have friends all over the United States who I would love to go see and stay in their house and then speak in your church. I have lots of people. I have people in Tennessee that I could stay with, and Texas, and just, North Carolina. So currently it's been California. It has been, I've been a keynote for a women's retreat, and that was 4 messages in 3 days. And I have done headlining, where I am the one-time speaker for a big women's event. And then I also do just, smaller, intimate, more MOPS groups, because those moms really need to laugh and to know that there is hope in motherhood. It is a calling. It is a ministry. It is all the things. And it's so important. It's so important.
Yep. Generationally, stay in the game, right? Even though it's hard, it's so important that we stay in the game and are intentional and listening to the Lord as he does guide us to how to raise our children and how to live out our faith in our community, in our homes, all the things.
Yes, all the things. It's the most important thing you'll ever do. And it is, in my opinion and my experience, the hardest stinking thing that I've ever done.
I get you. I get you on that. We would be so honored, LaCinda, if you would pray us out. But before we do that, I should ask you what your website is and how people are going to get a hold of you. And I will be linking those in the show notes. So if, they're driving, doing the laundry, doing the dishes, as most of us are while we're doing our podcast, you ladies just go home, click on that link, and it's going to send you right to her website. So, but for the audio learners, why don't you tell me your website?
My website is www.lacindahalls.com. You'll find some video clips of my speaking style. You will find my blog posts, and you can also find me on social media. That is LaCinda, and Facebook, it's LaCinda Halls Christian Speaker. On Instagram, it's just LaCinda Halls. And what you will find there is not necessarily autism resources, but what you will find is encouragement. It's encouragement to live the life that God has for you, to shine the light of Jesus, and generally funny stories that you can laugh at and go, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that she admitted that a bat stole a barrette out of her hair. So, stuff like that.
We need that. We need to laugh. Oh my goodness. I know. I mean, I've been parenting 26 years. I don't know if you know this, but I have 9 children. And, some of those days can be pretty gruesome. And I can be kicking the can down the road, frustrated. Really, I just need a moment of levity to bring back that joy and to help me get a deep breath and, hit the reset button. So, wow, I thank you for you doing that, for your ministry that you're building and speaking to women and encouraging their hearts. I'd love for you to pray for us today as we wrap up the morning.
Thank you. It would be my honor. Dear Father God, I thank you for this time that we have together to focus our eyes on you. There is nothing more important in our lives than focusing on you and taking in your word. Lord, be with the women who are listening to this podcast. Help them to know that nothing can separate them from the love of God. Help them to know that their stories are meaningful and that you will use these things for your good and glorious purposes. Lord, you love us so much. Help us to just shine a little bit of that love into the communities where we are and into the world and into our families. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, ladies, before you set down your phone, I want to ask you to just jump right over to Facebook. Go follow LaCinda over there. And then also you can look for my Facebook page is called Tending Fields. And I know it's a little different than the podcast name. Not great planning on my part, but it's good. It's good. We all have a lot of fields to tend in our life, so many pieces of motherhood. So go follow LaCinda and then my Facebook page, Tending Fields. And I'm also on Instagram under the name Tending Fields. So go over, do your social medias, follow us, and we'd love to chat with you there. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great week. I hope that you've been encouraged or challenged in your faith today, and that something we discussed prompts you to grow deeper in your walk with the Lord. If it has, make sure you tell a friend so they can grow along with you. And if you or a friend would like to be a guest and share about God's faithfulness in your life, please email me at podcast@tendingfields.net. Because when we tell of God's faithfulness, we never run out of stories.
Whatever is true, whatever is known.